and looking forward for next year and for speaking at your user group as well, with new things and the new year. And I know like everyone is looking forward for the holidays, so hopefully you can get out of this session with something, one or two new things that can be helpful for your next Sitecore project. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a context around the subject. So a couple of months ago, maybe it was in August, maybe September, I don't know, like this year went very fast, but I don't think it went fast enough. But anyway, I had the chance to speak at the Sitecore SMAC third quarter webinar. And if you don't know about it, it's the Sitecore Strategy MVP Council, Advisory Council, where every quarter they would introduce a webinar where a couple of people would share their experience about a marketing or a strategy topic. And it's around like 10 or 15 minutes focused on helping to learn one or a new things when implementing a Sitecore strategy. So if you did not watch that, you can go back into their channel and watch the different webinars held across the year. It was very helpful. And the third one, actually, the one that I spoke with, that was very focused on Sitecore profile. So that's a very helpful session. It was helpful for me as well. So in that webinar, I covered the strategy aspect of what I like to call it batch personalization for the lack of a term, but it could be making sure how we can implement personalization at scale, or when we have a huge amount of content and we want to leverage both out of the box and customized work. So in this session, I'm going to go more about covering the technical aspect of it. I'm going to touch base on the different strategy that we took. So at least it's going to be within context. But yeah, to jump into the business case that our business case was around, like now with the introduction of Sitecore 10, everyone is almost talking about an upgrade. And for the past 2 or 3 years, everyone was, if not working, was working on a new implementation or a migration project into Sitecore 9. And as many of your customers, I would believe, in previous versions of Sitecore, like Sitecore 7 and 8, the full leverage of Sitecore as a platform in terms of marketing and personalization was not that big. Sometimes depends on the type of business or brand. So I've worked with a client, the nature of their business does not require personalization. So that still is a business case that's valid where personalization is not needed. But in many cases, personalization becomes a must rather than nice to have. And as part of that, when we do migration for content, right? When we start to migrate lots and lots of content pages, you do not want your content authors or your marketing team to go into each page and start to set personalization rules. So you start to think about alternatives for that, right? How can I do it in an efficient way? Whether it's an out-of-the-box approach, or if I can customize Sitecore a bit to help me with this target. Another one would be, with this client specifically, they really did a great job in collecting analytics data, not necessarily within Sitecore. So in this case, we did not have to do any migration from Mongo over to Sitecore 9. And again, client to client cases are different, but the essence of the idea should still be applicable. So they had lots of information scattered in Google Analytics and BigQuery in Google and different third-party systems. So although we're doing an upgrade, it's not only about the design. So we wanted to make sure as they come to the new website, they still have the core experience that they had. So whether we have been targeting them with offers or emails or campaigns, based on these third-party systems, once you migrate that into Sitecore, into the new version of it, we want to make sure that they don't feel any disconnect. It's not a new website, even if we start with zero information about them in the database, right? If we don't know them yet, Sitecore engine needs some time to identify them and start to provide us with proper information that can help us with that. So the main target was this switch between the old version and the new version still and remain continuous. So there's no disconnect in the middle. So they don't feel that we actually did an upgrade underlying technology and everything. And definitely making sure that all these information that they have been accumulating and storing in third-party systems are still useful for us in our case. So one of the marketing strategy we were focusing on was what's called the next best action. And again, this is one aspect of the strategies. You can have different approaches, so you can build your experience around that. But I want to talk about this marketing in detail. So what is a next best action? So we all know that the concept of delivering, the right information, the right content for the right customer at the right time through the right channel is nothing new, right? This is the whole concept that Sitecore as a platform was built around. The next best action came to enhance this concept by evaluating, the customer's past behavior, the recent actions, what we've learned about them in terms of their interest, and putting that within our organization or brand goals. That makes, to identify what is effective for my customers when they do something next. So to simplify this, we have a customer, they might have registered for a newsletter. They might have added a product to the cart. It's been there for some time. Or they may have went to the store and, they purchased something. So they did an action. So now we want to plan for the next best action. So based on what we've learned about them, we've learned from registering for a newsletter that they are interested to learn more about us. We've learned their email address. So what we can do with that information to help us enhance their experience interacting with our brand. So within the concept of Sitecore, when we think about the marketing and personalization, we come across different strategies. One of them is the explicit behavior. So for example, if someone filled the form, should I trigger a goal after that goes and send them, for example, if they meet this goal, I can trigger a personalization that should show them a new content or should provide them with an offer. Or maybe if they made a purchase, I can add them to the holidays list, one of the contact lists that I'm going to target them with a batch of campaign emails as the holiday season approaches. So these are, you can go on and on and on, and the different actions that we can build around something explicit like this. However, there's another kind of behavior that we can learn about our customers, which we are more interested with. And we're going to talk about the differences between these two things in a bit, but would be their implicit behavior. So based on the different pages that they have visited so far. So let's put this within an example. So I have I'm working with a travel agency, for example, and they are trying to start their campaign around the holidays about giving discounts, or now with COVID, the entire year, we've seen lots and lots of campaigns and messages about discounts on flights, on hotel reservation, on activities that can be done with safety and these measures in place. And I want to start to do that based on what I have learned about them. So I've learned about these customers based on their previous booking with us, that they are interested and going to the Far East, for example, maybe to the Asia Pacific, rather than ship them over during the season to Europe. So I start to make better judgment on their behavior, on their intention, actually, based on their past behavior. And I start to put them within groups, so I can identify a segment that says within this time of the year, based on their best interest, they most likely are more interested with Asia Pacific. So I'm going to start to target them with offers, with campaigns that can help them decide where is the next best destination for them. So they have earlier showed interest in this, then I want to show them my personalization activities around that. So having these two things in mind, whether it's a previous behavior or whether an explicit action that they've done, we can go ahead and start to set up our personalization rules, right? The first thing that comes to mind whenever we talk about personalization is the rule-based personalization. And as many of you guys, for sure, you came across this, you would go to this component to say the carousel on the home page, and I want to personalize this. So the next time they visit the site, I'm showing them different content based on the different, let's say, booking that they have with us. So you go and say, I want to create a campaign. So based on this campaign, if they are visiting from Europe, then change the data source to check something from the carousel that's showing images from Europe or from Asia Pacific. And you go there and start to create different rules based on what you think should be shown to your customers. So we all know that the more information that we have collected, so we might start with a generic kind of set of rules. So we want this campaign to only trigger weekend. So you start with this generic target, and then you know more and more about your audience, right? You know more and more about your customers. So you start to say, okay, but if I put the country aspect in that based on their geolocation, I want to build another rule. And then you've learned more about them. They've already visited this location. I want to give them another location. So based on the past activities that they've done, it seems that they are more interested with the sea rather than a mountain. So you start to build and add more and more targeted personalization rules around that. Just the thought of it, you can see the amount of effort needed to, one, think about these things into this amount of details, two, setting this up. So you're telling your content authors to go into every single component and your site that is part of their marketing campaign or their marketing strategy. Let's say I want to personalize a CTA here, a carousel there, a list of components, and all the destination pages that I'm showing content on. So it becomes tedious to go and do all of these repetitive action, and it takes time. And over time, it grows to that amount where you're not sure if you can maintain it anymore. And again, this is not something bad about rule-based personalization. It's an observation that in certain scenarios, this is your go-to. The rule-based personalization is a very rich concept. When you go to that and Sitecore and look on the different options that you have, it almost covers everything you can think of. But at the end of the day, at a certain point, it becomes more of a human guessing, because you are relying on your marketing team with their understanding of what we're showing in the analytics, what we're showing based on our different KPIs across the entire digital presence, that they should be targeted with 1, 2, and 3. So this is something to keep in mind, that it's totally an option, but is it a right option, especially when you have a huge amount of content? The second option would be the behavior-based personalization. And I'm pretty sure that you guys have already come across this as a concept, and most likely you implemented this yourselves. It's just like as a reminder, when we talk about personalization, behavior-based personalization in Sitecore, then we're shifting our mind into personas and to identifying segment of my audience, trying to get what they share as a trait, give it a value. So at the end of the day, I know that I have a category, or let's say a group of people that they are interested in outdoor activities. And every time they interact with a component, with a page in the site, that's tagged or categorized with an outdoor activity, I want to give them an engagement value. I want to give them a value that says they're highly likely to be an outdoor people. So the next time I might offer them a discount or offers on transportation, since I know that they might be more interested in that. Maybe I give them more packages around outdoorsy kind of activities. And then you can build your personalization rules, the ones that we've discussed just a little bit around the button card. So that says if their button card or their persona matches an outdoors person who's interested in a seaside kind of activities, show them all the content around this, or give them offers around that. So this is the concept. This is something that you can depend on the engine to give you information about. You don't have to go and analyze everything in the Sitecore analytics and go and say, based on this score, I'm going to do this and that. Sitecore going to do it already for you. So you are relying on the engine to collect all these different information, give you a proper number, and you build your personalization strategy around that. So one aspect of implementing this would be, because it's out of the box, to go with the rule-based personalization. And given all the challenges or approach, we've thought into a different one, which is, how about we use the taxonomy that we have on the pages, right? Because when you're content author anyway, they are building and migrating content, most likely they are tagging these pages with certain taxonomies. So an important aspect of creating the data strategy for your website would be to spend really good amount of time to building your taxonomy structure in a way that can be easily identified and utilized in your personalization strategy. So for example, when I'm tagging pages with adventure that says these are people that are interested in science or climbing. Once I tag these pages with that, I've already started the first step, which is batch tagging my content, because at any rate I'm doing that. And it could be done by hand, like when content authors are doing that, or we can actually automatically do that. I'm going to talk about this in a bit. But yeah, a starting point, a really good starting point is to associate your taxonomy with these buttons that we've identified. So we can create persona around people who are interested in adventure. We create a profile, and just a quick thing in Sitecore, just a reminder of how that is done in Sitecore. When you go to your marketing, when you go to the marketing module in Sitecore, and you go to the dashboard, you have different options, and one of them, you start to create your personas or your profile. So basically, you go and say, I want to match my profiles with the taxonomies that I've spent really good time defining the content strategy for the site. So I know that I have people, or I have pages and content that are built around adventure. So I want to identify a group of people or a segment of my audience with that. And then all right, thank you. So we have this as your personalization, or this is as your profile, and then you start to define your profile card. So based on the taxonomy that we just showed, I have people that might be interested in mountain climbing and in cycling. So this is my profile card. So once I create this pattern card, that's people who are interested in cycling and mountain climbing, and give that an actual value. So let's say those interested in cycling, I'm going to give them an 8. And those are interested in mountain climbing, I'm going to give them a 9. So in total, anyone who achieves a combination of this number, most likely, they are an adventure level and they are a mountain climbing. So the combination of this means that I can target them with more and more content around that. And how we do that? Let's see if I can now. And how we do that? By assigning these things over on a page level. So out of the box, when you go to any page in Sitecore and you click on the profile card section, you can go ahead and say anyone who's interested in golfing or in cycling, any of these adventure kind of profiles, I start to have to give them a value, and this value indicates that they're more interested in golf. So next time I'm going to show them more content around golfing. So the caveat with this approach is that out of the box, Sitecore gives you this on a page level. And we were just discussing that we want this to happen on the taxonomy level. So this is where the customization part comes into place. So before we talk about how we're going to customize this behavior, one approach I found really helpful, because again, when we talk about your taxonomy and your content, we're talking about a huge amount of data. So you either can have your content authors go and do that manually, right? Or you can utilize one of the automations, and that exchange framework started to grow up on me when I started to use it extensively with this project. So basically, the idea would be all the output of your content strategy team and your marketing team that could be created and assigned to you an Excel sheet that says, yeah, I have a category that's called accommodation. My taxonomy going to be a hotel, a resort, a cabin. I want to associate that with a profile card that's called accommodation. And then the keys that I'm going to do, all of my values are, this is a cafe, could be a restaurant, this is a food shop, and we give them a value. So you could just simply get this out of your marketing team. You format it in a way that can help you build your your data exchange framework pipelines. And that's all you need to do is a way where you can export this Excel sheet into Sitecore, and then you can build your entire, both your taxonomy mapping and both your profile cards using your data exchange framework. So you build a pipeline that's going to go through this Excel sheet. And then if there's a profile card exists, then just assign it a value. If it's not, then go ahead and build it. So could be as simple as you create this record, and this is like just a one-to-one mapping of my Excel sheet. I just built a model that can take all of these information, like the category, the taxonomy, the profile cards and keys, and through the Excel sheet that we've just obtained, we go through record by record and then just build your taxonomy. So because we have already the taxonomy imported into Sitecore, all it was needed is to look up and search for that taxonomy term. And then what we utilize is the tracking field in Sitecore. So basically, whenever you tag and assign a profile card to any of the pages, everything is stored in the tracking field. So what we need to do is to automatically assign these values into this tracking field. And I go and say, okay, I want to retrieve now from Sitecore all the profile cards and keys that we've just created in the marketing in the marketing creator module. I go in here, look for that profile card and assign it a value. And again, it's dealing with that tracking field. I do my updates. I give it the percentage or the number that we have been working on, whether a scale from 0 to 9 to 10, whatever makes sense to your marketing team, and then store that. And this is huge because once you have that automatically done and you set that value and you add it to your profile card, and now each page, let's say all pages under the destination path has been tagged with the taxonomy that's called destination, or a hotel, or a restaurant. You've already automatically tagged that. You assigned a profile key into that, and that's it. Most of the work that you've already done, you already wanted to do manually, is automated for you using the data exchange framework pipeline. So you've done the first part. The second part would be to go to Sitecore and say, okay, don't only rely on doing this engine. So Sitecore, what it does and how it calculates that, it scans all the pages, and every time you have a page that's tagged with a profile card, it will calculate the pattern behavior, right? So if you go to your experience profile, if you have already tagged pages with that, you can see the result that says from it's most probably this one is interested in adventure, and this is done on the page level. So what we need to do is to include that on the taxonomy level. So what is just to have the same option of overriding the Sitecore behavior, or in this case to extend. So we tell Sitecore, okay, go ahead, perform your initial identification of this pattern through the out of the box. Then I want to create a new processor that takes the taxonomy into mind. So for each page, when Sitecore go and evaluate that page, I want to go and check for the taxonomy field, get based on that the tracking field, all the information. So this page, it has been tagged with golf as an adventure. I have a score of 9 of golf. Now I want to feed it back to the Sitecore, to the XDB. So all is to batch it, and in this case I've only batched that after this processor, which is called collect parameters. So this collect parameters is what Sitecore trigger when it wants to process all the analytics information and store that in XDB. So simply by far what we've done is, number one, automate the approach, which is to build all our personalization activities around taxonomy. So you can do it manually or automate that. One approach could be using the data exchange framework. And that should be, there's lots of code out there that can help you, pull the tracking information or the tracking field of that taxonomy, give it that value and tag it. And it could be used all over all the pages. And second thing is to modify the way Sitecore collect and track these information to include on top of the out of the box, which is the page level. Now we have the taxonomy level. So, and you can do the same for whatever thing that comes to mind. If we don't want to do this based on a profile key being assigned to a page or being assigned to taxonomy, you can do it based on data coming from a third-party system. You can do it this way, or you can do it in the experience profile, which I'm going to explore shortly. So how we can utilize, now from a technical perspective, we laid down all the ground rule, right? Now we've implemented the taxonomy, we've implemented tracking, and we've implemented pattern keys on a taxonomy level, and we know for sure now that Sitecore is tracking tags or taxonomy besides pages. You can do that in different way now. So when you display your carousel, or you have a component that lists the top 3 best destination to visit next, you can do that essentially giving always the content author the option to curate that. So if they want to promote a certain destination at any given time, they have that option. Second one would be to search based on taxonomy. So one approach would be if I have this component added to a page that's already tagged, let's say its top tags are accommodation, and inside that accommodation is a hotel. So I would re-implement this component in a way that takes taxonomy and the search as part of that. So instead of getting all the different pages and randomly select 3, now I have more targeted ones. So based on the page I am on, I get that taxonomy, and all of us know that. And you can do that. And the third one would be based on tracking. So based on having this page being tagged and tracked with accommodation, with a hotel, with a restaurant. So you have 3 levels of information added in there. How about taking an extra step of accuracy and say any page that has been profiled to be interested with destinations, with hotels, with restaurants, I want it to be displayed into this component. So since we've already been working with this tracking field, another way we can do is to create a computed field and index that information as well. So the next time when you build, your search result item coming back from the index, you can get your taxonomy terms. So this way I can search around taxonomy, or I can search around the profile key, and you can select your top 1 based on the value that Sitecore has already given that field. So all the pages that most likely have a value of highest value of 9, for example, for golfing, I want to get as part of my search. And we can do that by, again, it's a combination. So the component would search based on the tracking field, and on the page itself, I would go and say, based on the current page, my tracking analytics say the current contact is interested with destinations, and or their highest value would be golfing. So now I'm combining not only for the current page or for the current component to get me all the golfing pages. Now I'm doing the matching that Sitecore usually does using the personalization rules, right? Because in personalization rules, you can go there and say, for any button cards that match golfing, show me that. Now we can do this in code and say, because we've already done this part, Sitecore already identified this for me when we added that pipeline that instructs Sitecore to profile taxonomy and not only pages. So we can go to that page, to that tracker, and I get this information for my current contact and say, okay, they're interested in golfs. Then this is the search query that I want. I want all pages where the tracking field equals or contains this button card that is associated with this contact. So there's different ideas and different ways you can think of. Once you see that, yeah, we can not only be limited to the out of the box from Sitecore, but I can go the extra step and either do that at scale or mimic the current behavior of Sitecore and use that simply in something we all know like search. So this is almost covers one of the aspects of the scenarios that we came across, which is we wanted to do this personalization at scale without having content authors to build any single personalization rule. We've done this, all of them, in the code, so they don't have to worry about it. So everything for them looks like it's being automated. Second one was we wanted to make sure that we're still building these personalization rules or tactics based on data coming from a third-party system. And again, you can try and do that using, real-time kind of an approach, right? You can, for each visit, you can call a third-party system for that component and say, okay, it seems that based on the behavior that we have tracked about these users, whether they are interested in the seaside, but wait a minute, on Facebook or based on a campaign that we've launched last week, it says that they have been browsing a mountain view options. So even before they come to the site and they did not yet explore anything in our website around the mountains, based on our knowledge with them, we always knew that they are more of a seaside kind of adventurers. Now, using this third-party system, we had an advantage that prior of them coming to the site, we knew that they are interested in the mountain view. So I want to make sure that I can sync this information or I can make it available for my website. So the next time they hit my website, not coming from a campaign, not coming from the social media, just organic coming to the website. Now I want to tell them that I know about you. I care about your choices or interests that you've shown me in my other digital channels. And I want to show you on the homepage a carousel all about mountain climbing. So this, again, you can do it by calling APIs at runtime, and we all know that we need to be careful about performance consideration and this kind of stuff. If we want to store that in a cookie, again, we want to make sure about consent, about maintaining that, expiry, the whole drill, about different things that we need to keep in mind. So we can use Sitecore Experience Profile, and I've started to learn more about it and how to customize it in a way that could be very, very helpful both for your content authors who can go into these profiles and see for that specific customer or that specific user what are their interests, or again, you can utilize that in either a rule-based personalization or in a code-based personalization. So basically, this is how, for example, a button card looks like in the experience profile. So it gives you the percentage based on the different profile keys that you have. And based on the matches and the patterns of this specific visitor, for example, they show the more propensity to be a golf user rather than a mountain climbing. Like, it looks very close, but it gives us all in all that they are more of an adventure personas until they have shown interest in all of these pages. So what we could do is to introduce a new tab in the experience profile, and I can store my information that's coming from this third party into that. So the next best action, the next best adventure for them based on this third party system is golf. Their next best accommodation, that not necessarily we've learned about this from the site, but rather from a third party system, is a motel. And to do this, there's lots of code you can see out there. It's about creating the different facets, making sure that this new facet is stored in the XDB, and all of this can be added and stored in Sitecore. And you can get this in terms of an Excel sheet or in terms of whatever medium you think is best. We worked with this because the tool will be easy for us to export all of these into an Excel sheet. So again, through the data exchange framework, we've created another pipeline who would help us map this information that came from this third party into the experience profile. Once you So this, whether this is for an existing user you have, or when someone new comes to your website, you can always associate this with this new profile, because now I'm interested to create, when I create a new context in the XCB, I want to have this information about them, about their next best destination or their next best accommodation, and store information. Again, nothing of this is new. You can find all of this and the internet. Is just a matter of creating these facets. And finally, once all of this is set, you can either do this as a rule-based. So in this scenario, I've introduced like a new personalization rule that can help you do personalization around facets, or simply remember the piece of code that reads from the analytics for the current contact, which profile key. You can always access this new facet and say facet dot destination, because we already have in here in this code. I can get the next best destination data. So I can write a piece of code like this one, and I can use it in my search base or my taxonomy base or my tracking base, because now I have this information available. So once I have the tracking information, I've identified the contact, I've got their custom facets, in this case, the next best destination, I can pass this over to my search or to my tracking and say where tracking equal golf, or where the taxonomy equal an accommodation. So this is another example of that. Definitely, as a final thought on this whole profiling thing, would be the utilization of Cortex and AI. Again, definitely this has always been an approach, and now with Sitecore 10, they have made lots and lots of these more available. If you have the chance to attend the symposium or watch some of the announcements with Sitecore 10, they made some of these available that used to be only for a huge amount of big, so the AI engine could be triggered, and that's costly, that takes time to build. So more and more options you can utilize. So hopefully, by far we covered, different options that you can think of, that not necessarily out of the box, but how you can utilize that when you want to apply personalization at scale, and how you can make sure that you can still get all the information from these third-party systems, store it in the experience profile, and then you can build your entire personalization activities around a custom source. And that's it for me. Any questions?
Yeah, hi, Ishraq. This is Vikas. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think thanks for the nice session. So personalization is definitely was very good subject, and you I think explained few things very well. The question